Hello, and welcome to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I am so glad you are here with me. My name is Carrie Dale, and I am your host. I am an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, manifester, and motivator. And I am on a mission to empower you to create the life of your dreams. If you are looking to up-level your life, relationships, finances, productivity, and success, you have come to the right place. I will share with you tools, resources, strategies, my failures, and my successes that have all helped me achieve the life of my dreams. It is my goal with this podcast to help you see your potential and empower you to create the life of your dreams. So let's get to it. Well, welcome back to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I am beyond excited today about my guest, Tressa Yonekawa Bundren. She has focused on one thing over 20 years. She fixes hard relationships within ourselves and in the spaces between us, at work and at home. As an award-winning neuroscience-based leadership and cultural health keynote speaker and executive coach, she guides the experience of change right now. The choice then becomes yours to live your legacy today or wait until it's too late. I met Tressa this spring at Mariah Brown's signature retreat, and Tressa made a massive impact on my life. And I think that she will make it on anybody else who hears her, spends time with her, speaks with her. She let me recognize where I was hiding from myself and how I was keeping myself back. I was holding myself back. She just brings this medicine into the world and shows things in a new light. And I'm so excited to have her here. And we are going to chat today about how you too can achieve your goals in 35 days. And then if you want, you can take a deeper dive with us in the following weeks as we meet live and help you through that. Welcome, Tressa.
Hi, Carrie. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. And thank you for that warm welcome. Carrie, it is such a thrill to be here with you today. Thank you so much for having me. And it's so beautiful to see you again and to be working on this project together, this experience of women getting goals that they've wanted to get and haven't for whatever reason. Doesn't even matter right now. We're going to have like 35 days to get a goal or some goals that people want to get. And today we get to talk about how that happens.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You bring a totally different perspective, and I just think it's magical. So yeah, I don't know about you, but I think the starting point is really to start with what is it you're wanting to do and get clarity on that.
Yes, absolutely. And so the what is it that you want to do has to be linked to understanding why. So if I want to build an empire or, whatever it is that I want to do, you're building Thrive Mindset and have been working on it probably all your life in different forms. And so now it gets to come to fruition into reality, and it takes logistics. So when we have a dream that we want to get, we have to realize, and we've had this conversation in the recent past, which is so exciting to me, Carrie, about what manifesting really is. And so will you give a guide to what manifesting really is?
Yeah. So I believe, and I think you and I align on this, that it's not just the law of attraction. I can't just say, I am going to manifest $1 million. I actually have to, put that out there. If that's really what I'm wanting, I have to put it out there. I need to believe in it. And then I need to take actionable steps to get myself there as well, because I have to be moving towards it just as much as it's coming towards me.
Yes. Yeah. There's that quote, and I wish I could remember who it's from. I've heard it from several people that I respect a lot, that the more work I do toward my goal, the luckier I get.
But it's not luck.
Yeah. Right. So it's about knowing what steps to take, though. And I think where I've gotten stuck in the past, and I totally want to hear your experience too, and from your listeners, where I personally have gotten stuck in the past is that I have the big goal, I have the vision, and then the steps to get there start to get mundane. And the accountability for me, I have to build it in myself. I've learned how to do that over these several decades, but for several decades, I didn't have that. And so I would just start project after project after project, follow guru after leader after teacher, who was doing what I wanted to do, neglecting the part about putting in the work when it gets hard and boring. And that's part of it too. It's not getting our dreams isn't living the dream. It's finding the dream in every part of the journey.
And finding joy in it, right? In every moment, even the small stuff. I mean,
yes. Yeah. And if it's not joy, like joy, yes, as much as possible. And how do we find content? How do we find curiosity, wonder, awe? Those are the things that are going to sustain us more than joy. So those little blips on the radar of joy, yes, absolutely. Have those, experience those, celebrate those. Also, those celebrate when you get curious about something and you learn something new and it's maybe interesting and hard. It challenges you because that's when you're growing.
yeah. One of the things you really helped me with was getting over that hump, right? Getting over those moments where I felt stuck and just kind of digging deep into what it was that was, sticking for me. And I'm just curious if you have any advice on that for in general. I mean, I know it's very specific for each person, but I think that you have some wisdom there to share.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Well, first, let's back up just a little bit. And what specifically was it that helped you?
So I think for me, especially at that retreat, you really made me dive deep into my fears and what it was that was holding me back in every aspect of my life, whether it be Thrive mindset, whether it be my relationship with my husband, whether it be just my own comfort with myself. And it all really came down to, at the end of it, which it took me those whole 3-4 days to really get to it. But it was really that I have this irrational fear that I'm not enough. And so by coming to that, I was able to sit back and go, well, is that true? No, it's not true. Why do I tell myself that? And just kind of work through it. So now every time I have a moment of, why am I scared? Like, why am I not rushing towards this thing? Why am I holding back? Oh, Carrie, because you're again thinking you're not enough. Is that true? No. What is true? I am more than enough. I can do this. I am capable of this. And that whole realization just changed my mindset in a way that I can move forward through those humps.
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful. And that is consistent. Your feelings of, am I enough? Am I worthy? Those things come up with people at the highest levels of leadership in finance and entertainment and music, people that you know and recognize, companies that you know and recognize and use all the time. Their leadership also has those moments, sometimes significantly, universally, over the past almost 25 years now that I've been doing this work. Universally, I have not met more than 2 people who didn't get to the place where they said, oh, this is about how I feel about myself, the way I'm treating other people, the way I'm, harming myself and people that I love, how unsure I am, that I think I don't belong here. And I've never met anyone, including myself, that didn't have significant episodes of that. And once we shine a light on the problem, that can't be in the dark anymore working us. We get to work it. And so when we come back to this practice, it really is a practice, and we might have to do it for the rest of our lives. We come back and we check in and we say, is this true? Oh, I can't call that person because they're bigger than me. They're more important than me. They're more successful than me. Is that true? And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Is the person on the other end of the phone, if they pick up, like if they answer the email, if, is that person going to make fun of you and say, wow, how dumb of you to reach out to me? Do you know who I am? Somebody does that, you don't want to be in community with that person anyway. Mm-hmm. So what we fear is being othered, of not belonging, of not being included. Like I can think back to grade school and having that fear. And I'm guessing that a lot of us can. And even though in high school, early high school, I hung out with the people that would have been considered the popular group, in my head, I was always thinking, why are these people hanging out with me? Do they know how weird I am? Are they hanging out with me because I'm weird? What is happening? Because I don't understand what it takes to be, I don't understand what it takes to be liked. So maybe I'm just faking it. Do I belong here? And that message, was so harmful without having somebody that I respected, an adult, somebody saying, hey, listen, you're more than enough. You're, whatever your gifts are, whatever your strangeness is now and later what is amazing about you, your superpower. And I wish someone had told me that then, because yes, absolutely, the things that are most strange about me that I've tried to hide, like the stripe in my hair since I was 13, all kinds of, personality traits that make me successful are the things that I most doubted. Did you find that to be true? Do you think that other people have that experience?
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because you and I chatted about this before, but especially in the last probably, 10 years, I have really seen fear as a signpost in my life. If it's not something that's going to kill me, then I found that when I run towards it, instead of away from it, that life just becomes this amazing thing. I accomplish it and I get over it and I realize that it's not so bad, and yeah, so it's really interesting to me when going to that retreat, even though I was running towards it. In fact, going to that retreat, I was running towards fear. I was running towards a moment that really intimidated me. I am not good in being, or I have not been good in the past of being in a circle of women. It's been one of those uncomfortable things, or at least sharing myself in a circle of women. I can be in it and enjoy it, but sharing myself, that's a different conversation, right? But just running towards that fear, I've seen just magic happen in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's real. And that fear of being in a circle of women, like I was never taught that women were supportive, that we were supposed to. I was taught, and I see it on socials all the time now, although we're hearing more of the messaging of the sisterhood and all of those things, there's still the underlying current in a lot of places of the competition. And does your makeup look this way? Does your nose look this way? Or do your eyebrows look this way? There's always this constant push from a world pushing us to externalize our worth so that we continue to be in need and we continue to purchase. So the same thing happens, I think, in health in all different places. If we're not listening to ourselves about how do I define wealth? How do I define happiness? So the first step in getting our goals is to do that check-in with what are my definitions? What's right for me? And disregard everything you see, everything you've ever heard, your family line, the patterns that you've seen and patterns that have been comfortable for you, and dig in and say, how do I define this? How would I draw this out? In my utopia, in my perfect life, what am I doing? What do I look like? Who am I hanging out with? What am I talking about? What am I eating? Where am I? And when we can get there and say, oh, you know what? I've been living somebody else on social media or an amalgam of social media's fantasy about what life is. And life actually is messy. And that's part of the thrill, that it's messy. There are very few picture perfect moments. And we'll grab some out of this interview. We'll grab some picture perfect moments, and the scramble, the tipping over my light, the trying to, clean up coffee and make tea, the internet connection issues at the beginning of when we started, those things are not going to be on record. And so if somebody is listening to or watching this and they get just those picture perfect moments, then when they to start a podcast and they think that they have to have one moment after the next that just is bam, 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 makes sense and is amazing and is impactful, then that person might not ever start. So it's important, I think, to acknowledge and honor and even embrace that we're messy creatures.
Yeah. But that goes back to what I was saying. I feel like just even this that little bit of information right there and reminding people that we are messy and that we're not perfect is one of the things that I think you bring into the room to remind and help people get over that hump, because they can say, this is what I want to do. This is why I want to do it, and be clear on it, but then still have something holding them back.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's important. And I think from working with people who are extremely successful and from, having success definition in my life, but creating that with successful businesses and different things, working with amazing people, having great teams, I had the right everything. I had the right cars. I had the right clothing. I had, the right label, whatever. And I found after doing that for a while that I wasn't any happier than when I'm in yoga pants and a t-shirt. So what is it? And I love dressing up. I love doing that thing, but putting that on as a facade or as a mask or as a shield to walk into a room so that people know I'm something. That isn't part of who I am. I want to get to know people deeply. I want to know all about you. I want to know how everything works, my study, my education in neuroscience and neurocognition. I want to understand how all of these concepts on paper work and play out in real life. And what I've been finding for over 2 decades now is that when we can break the patterns, when we can disrupt the patterns in the best ways, take a look at them and decide, do I want to keep doing this? We get to make choices. But until we do that, until we look at the patterns and say, is this what I want to be doing? Is this who I am? Is this what I'm moving forward with? Until we do that, we are held captive by the pattern. Mm-hmm. Have you found that in your world as you've created your amazing real estate business and your amazing Thrive mindset? Have you noticed where you've been stuck in and had to remove yourself from them or shift them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that you and I have chatted about too, and I encourage, is a morning routine, right? And having, gratitude practice and having time to exercise and time to have inspiration and all these things. But you can find, or at least I have, that even when I'm doing it, sometimes I'm not doing it in a mindful way. Sometimes I'm just doing it to do it. Like when I've been least effective with moving forward with my dreams and manifesting things is when I've been writing the same thing over and over and over, and I'm not even feeling it anymore. I'm just writing it out of habit. And then that's usually the moment I go, oh, wait, do I even really, is that really what I want? Because if I'm just writing it without emotion, without wanting, without desire, without all the things, it's not going to happen. It's just writing.
Yeah. And that's such a beautiful path into journaling. So tell me about, I consider you a journal expert. I consider your journal to be the best on the market. And I want to know, how do we not keep writing the same wish, like making the same wish in, every day? How can we journal in a way that is activating and expands what we're doing?
So for me, I think it evolves, right? I can have my 10 things that I am definitely wanting to manifest. But as I'm writing them, if I'm not quite feeling it the same way I was even yesterday, or maybe I'm actually seeing more growth in one way than I thought I would, then I change it. And it can change completely, or it can just be some wording in it. Like one that I constantly have on there, it's partially for me and keeping my intention on it, but it's about my health and my fitness level and me physically. And for a long time, I'm like, I am going to be healthy, fit, and weigh blah, blah, blah. And I kept looking at it every morning. I'm like, it just made me kind of cringe. I'm like, why am I writing out this arbitrary number? Like, why am I doing this? And it's really funny because the moment I switched to I am going to be healthy, fit, and feel good about myself, that was when it sat with me. And that was when I went, oh, see, now I can achieve that because I believe in it and it makes me happy. It's not making me cringe. And same thing with real estate, right? So I have had times where I'm like, oh, I'm going to sell this many homes this year. And sometimes that feels really good. And other times it's like, that doesn't feel so good. It really is, I'm going to help so many people this year. So I think just the evolution of finding and fine tuning the words that really do accomplish what you're wanting, but also give you that good feeling. I mean, if it doesn't feel good, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I love that. That's so powerful because rather than, I've always talked about like, if I was going to win the lottery, that blow on the wind, feet or onto my windshield, and just the right amount of humidity would be in the air to make it stick, and that's just not how it works. Like you said, I dropped off journaling for a long time because I was doing that thing where I was like, oh, I just want my journal basically to look good. My journaling got more efficient. And I noticed that, like you said, I felt good about what I am doing right now. So it's a very present, powerful thing for me. And projecting into the future is less what I feel like I'm doing documenting, here's where I am. The next 3 steps are this. So this is exactly what we're going to guide your listeners through in the next 35 days is create the map that has worked for every single one of my executive coaching clients for forever and for me. So when we create the map, there's a process to that and it's quick. And then we create the steps to get to the biggest goal. And then we start working those steps. And with the accountability that we're going to be providing in the next month or so, with the accountability, with the support, with being able to talk about, like, anytime people will have access to us on Voxer so that they can ask questions in real time and get responses really quickly so that they're not getting stuck, so that they're not backtracked, and so that they're actually making progress every time they're working on it. And this to me is so, I have goosebumps right now. And every time I talk about it, and I've been doing this for 23 years now, that it works. When we put mind, our self, our source, our heart, our intuition, our instinct, when we put all of it into the dream, and the dream is true, it's not somebody else's dream. When the dream is true for us, so much progress. And we have to be ready and not ready, right? There's this place of beginner's mind. It's almost yogic, where we say, okay, whatever the outcome is, I know I'm working toward this goal. And the goal might evolve. It often does when we start taking the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious, Carrie, where have you gotten stuck? Where have you noticed that you had a growth, an evolution, an expansion at some place after you recognized that you were holding yourself to lower standards than you were capable of?
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know that it was necessarily a stuck, other than just, like I said, a stuck in a habit. So, for example, back to real estate, saying I'm going to sell this many homes and writing that time after time, and then realizing that actually I had already done more than that. But I was still like just focused on that number, but I hadn't really thought about it or written it down and been like, oh, actually, I'm already there. So maybe that dream was a little lower or of a goal than I should have made it. And then raising it. And then again, thinking, oh, that will be like a massive number, right? That'll be a hard achievement. And then blowing past that again at the end of the year. So I think those to me I have been a little bit on the other end where I'll set things too low because I'm scared. I'm scared of what the bigger looks like.
Are you scared of, okay, so there's 2 scares that I run into. Yes, what the bigger looks like and what it feels like and what it is to live that. What's going to fall away, who's going to fall away in order for that to happen the way it's supposed to happen and the way I'm working for. And also, what if I don't get that?
Yeah, both of those, right?
Yeah.
And for me, they both play in. They really do. And I've gotten much better about setting them higher and higher and just going with it. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? I mean, and that has been good. But it's funny, you mentioned the comment about people falling away, because this, again, is another thing that I think you are very wise in. And it's navigating the relationship difficulties of achieving your goals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they always exist. They always exist. I mean, they always exist in some format, even when we have super mega power couples who are both, very successful, stuff comes up. So whether it's a partner, whether it's, whatever it is, we bring our kids with us. So our kids get to see us expand. And I typically try to talk about increases or the more as an expansion. So we stop looking at it as a linear hierarchical thing, and we start looking at it as the expansion of our whole being within this world. So how can we impact more people while encouraging the people around us to do the same thing, right? The only way to do that is to show up and do your work, show up and make it happen, show up and be as successful as you can in the ways that you define success so that other people know it's possible. When we have people, friends, partners, family in our lives who are used to us being a certain way, we have people in our lives who are comfortable with us in our patterns and in their patterns, their expectations of us. Change is hard for them. And if they're not doing the same work personally that we're doing to have self-awareness It's really difficult for them to not be jealous, to not be scared for us, and to have their own stories about what's happening. So moving through that and recognizing that and knowing, and this has been the hardest thing in the world for me, because I started out as a speech pathologist and working in mental health and with neurology. And one of the things that one of the neuros told me one time was, you can't save them all. And that still makes me want to cry.
Yeah. But this is such a hard one, right? Because like you said, jealousy can come into play and other emotions, and then the feelings that come with that, whether it be, why are you doing this to me? Why are you acting this way? Why are you behaving in this manner that isn't like you? And now you don't pay attention to me. And now, and just kind of all the blame that comes along with that, when you're sitting there going, but I'm doing this thing. I don't love you any less. I don't want to not talk to you any less. I'm just doing this thing now too.
Right. And so what I find helps, and as I do relationship work with couples and families and in culture for work, what helps is, hey, here's what I'm doing. I invite you. Like, what's your version of this? I had a marriage, and several years ago when I was growing, I was building companies, I was finding ways to help more people. And my partner at the time, good human, really good man, wildlife biologist, doing work for the planet, amazing human, brilliant. What he said at some point close to the dissolution of our marriage was, I see you growing, and I don't want that. I know who I am. I want to drink decent beer and play video games, and I don't want what you want. And that was hard. And I kept coming back with, are you sure you don't want your version of what I want? Are you sure I can't do this thing and you can do your thing and we're going to be okay? Like, do you really want to break this down just as you see me growing and it's not what you want? And what I am is not the version, the conservative, stay-at-home version of a wife that you wanted. And he was pretty insistent that, what he wanted was the pattern that he had become used to. And so that was the end of our union. And I like, so much of me knows that it could have been different, but it wasn't up to me. And it was a good example of, we have to let people own their own stuff. We cannot carry people's stuff for them. So if people are stuck in their stuff, want to carry their stuff, we have to let them. And it's hard for those of us who are caregivers. The difference between caregiver, caretaker is that the caretaker gets into this role of this unhealthy balance. If I show up, this is how I need to show up so that you'll keep loving me, whatever it is. But when it's codependent, that can be fixed. It can absolutely be fixed. It's not easy, but it can be. But we have to allow people to hold their own stuff. We have to insist on our own growth, or we're going to regret not living our lives fully. And we're going to take it out on each other in different ways.
I think that's worse. I mean, to sit and not do what you both dream of, or I just think that's worse. So I applaud you for being able to work through that, because I can't even imagine that'd be really tough.
It's tough, but guiding people through that is so exciting. And I'm so honored to be able to do the work I do. It's the only thing I do. It's the only thing I want to do. It's never work for me. I never need a vacation. I never burn out. I mean, I sleep and I have to take care of myself and all those things, but I love connection and communication and how it all works so much that I cannot even imagine doing anything else. And it's never work for me. It's often hard being able to help people reflect, actively listen, see themselves and each other, witness what's happening, part in conversations rather than staying in those patterns. Some of those patterns are awesome. Keep the awesome patterns. But when we can see the patterns aren't working for us or for each other, we get to say, hey, is this working for you? Do you want something different? Because I'm noticing that I've been stuck in this place and I want to evolve. I want to grow. I want to expand. Here's how I want to do that. What did you just hear me say? What do you think about that? And those reflections back and forth build relationship. So when we have 2 or more people who actively want to come to the table and have the conversations to expand and grow together, then we have strengthening relationships that grow over time. And what could be more exciting? We used to think, like way back in the day, we used to think that we either went to college or not, either got married or didn't, either had kids or didn't, found the career we wanted to be in, and then we just did that on repeat until we died. And in working with people in hospice for a while, about 20 years ago, every one of the people that I had the deep honor of working with, every one of those people who knew that death was imminent for them said, I regret not, and then fill in the blank with whatever comes to mind for you. I regret not, every one of them, not one human being on the verge of this life being no longer available to them. Not one of them said, I regret doing, I regret trying. None of them. It was, I regret not walking up to that cute girl in the 4th grade and asking her to dance. I regret not wearing the clothes that made me feel comfortable. I regret not doing the work that I knew I wanted to do. I regret not, having kids on my own, or not having kids and thinking that I needed to. Like, so much, so much of regret is based on not trying, getting scared, living under the lid of fear.
Which is why we're going to help people get over that. And
yes. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So after they do this experience with us, they can go on and do Thrive Mindset and just replicate it. They can go on and move into the world and just keep doing this process. And I'm hoping that they do it with your guidance, because you're amazing at this. And the journals that you've created are part of the work that they're going to be doing. Tell us more about how that fits into this process.
Well, so starting in September, I'm going to create a new container, and it's going to be Dreams Are Reality, the Manifestation Circle. And for those who are joining us via this podcast and the lives coming up, they are going to get a journal along with signing up to be part of the circle. And it'll just be a monthly group, a monthly accountability group, where we can chat about what their needs are and where they're stuck or what they're needing help with, but also each month get a new tool, a new way to keep moving forward, a way, those kind of things, just to keep you motivated and keep you focused. Because I think a big, huge part of manifesting is having your intention and your awareness on it at all times, and your focus, along with moving your steps and like taking those actionable things that you need to do to get you to what you're dreaming about. And I think, just like we've been talking, the next 4 weeks is a huge way to get them going. But then when you stop that, you kind of fall off, and maybe you go back into your own habits, or you forget some of the things you're learning. And it helps me to have people around me to keep reminding me. I mean, I'm very, very blessed that I have a husband who supports me the way he does, because he pushes me and challenges me. But I know a lot of people don't have that, and they maybe don't even have a friend, or they don't have a mentor or the help they need. And so I just think getting together is huge. And I think that as women, instead of competing with one another and comparing ourselves to one another, we should be encouraging each other and building them up, and knowing that I can do it, you can do it, all of us can do it. We're just putting it out in our own different ways.
Yeah,
so
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you're doing in the world and what you've been called to create, and how powerfully you've jumped into it with all your skills. It's really beautiful to see, and it's really beautiful to support you in that. Most of my work is in corporate spaces. So I work in culture and, leadership health and culture health. And then I take on some executive coaching clients, and I love my role, and I love being out as a keynote speaker. And this place where building community comes in, and helping support your community and helping guide these transitions for these women to get their dreams is something that I'm so passionate about, and I'm really good at in a way that's different than you. So I'm excited to help support and to learn from each other through this too. And you and I are also going to be working on our goals through this, so that we're having the same experience, which I'm also really excited about. And when this month is over, people will still be able to access the videos and get the help and join Thrive Mindset, which is exciting to me because it doesn't just end. It gets to just be planted and grow and then continue to grow.
Yeah. And they're going to take those small little goals and they're going to end up making them into their life goals and their life dreams. And they're going to find that clarity and that intention and just the beauty that comes with diving into this.
Yeah. Yeah. And not being afraid to recalibrate. So, I could paint in gold my map and then have to tear sections out of it that change. So with recalibration, with tuning into, is this true?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, now I'm doing this. Is this true? Or was that still part of my pattern? And that can happen for a long time. So I think it's important to know that there's no failure. There is reiteration, recalibration, more distinct clarity that comes from doing the work that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And trying new things, like you just said, it's not whether you do it well or you do it poor or there's always a lesson learned out of it. There's always something good that comes out of it, even if it wasn't exactly what you expected.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's hard to see the good when things are, when we're working toward a goal and the goal either doesn't materialize in the way that we thought it would or in the way that we projected that it could. What is the recalibration there? And what are the tools that I need to use in order to define that rather than going back into hiding, putting up a shield? I didn't want that anyway, whatever, those kinds of things. Or maybe that wasn't meant for me. I think there's, a lot of bypassy language that we've learned. If you want something, get it. And to say that, oh, that wasn't meant for me, is that a redirection? It can be. I know David Meltzer, who I have a lot of respect for, has often said something along the lines of, if you get a refusal, it's a redirection. If you get a no, first of all, ask, like Steve Sims would say, either the person isn't understanding the question or I haven't asked it in the right way. So there are many facets and aspects to look at within ourselves. It comes back to self-reflection and being honest with ourselves from the place of our bigness, from the place of our worth, from the place of I'm worth getting this thing, I'm worth getting this dream, I'm worth being in this work. And then what's true there and how to recalibrate and the tools. Like it's always so exciting and we learn so much about ourselves and each other when we do it. And I love doing it in a group.
I think that's lovely. Well, I think we could chat for hours, but I really want to go and focus on you for just a minute. Is there anything that you'd like to share? Anything that you'd like to put out that people could find you or follow you or like your meditations or anything you'd like to share that way? Or is there any final thoughts that you feel are on your heart?
Thank you. Well, people, if anybody wants to be in touch with me, please do. I'm always up for connection. Everybody can find me on at Tressa Yonekawa on all the platforms. And I have a podcast coming out called Listen Leader that should be out in the next few months. And that will be streaming on all the platforms and co-hosted by my business partner, Laura Mansfield. And I think that when we make the effort to get to know ourselves better so that the spaces in between us are better, it's always valuable.
That's beautiful. Just beautiful. Oh, Tressa, I thank you so much for being there. And I cannot wait for the next few weeks and see how it goes and see what people do and just the magic I believe that will happen. In that space, I do feel like it's magic. It's special. I think that in what other form it takes, it'll just be beautiful. And so I'm looking forward to doing this with you. I hope that my listeners join us. I hope that they get excited and they watch for the links coming up to our lives in the next few weeks.
Yes. And I hope your listeners also reach out with any questions that you have for us that you would like to have addressed during that time. Please join us. It's no cost. We're doing this because we believe in this process and in you. So please, please come.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Well, thank you all for being here. I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. Thank you again, Tressa, for coming today. I'm so excited about all that we're doing. I can't wait to share it with the world. And to all of my listeners, I hope to see you soon. I hope that you got something out of today. And if you did, subscribe, like, comment below. And above all else, remember that I believe in you and you can manifest the life of your dreams.